Okay, so everybody knows I have to hop back and forth from Facebook to Zoom because people kind of trickle in. Good morning. Jenna Harris Hernandez here with an amazing guest. I promised you guys last week that we're going to start having guests on. And I told you a little bit last week about our guest. Gina Talkington is here with me today. And let's make sure we can hear you, Gina. Can we hear you?
Hello, I'm so excited.
Yay. Okay, awesome. I'm not going to tell her story. I want her to tell you guys her story. But I would love to tell you why I personally wanted to invite her on the show. Gina and I have been kind of working together on and off just with accountability and things like that over the past year and a half. And what I just so admired was her dedication to her clients and her ability to time block and her ability to, you guys, she's doing more transactions as a part-time agent that some people are doing full-time. And I think that when you hear something like that, you need to pay attention because so many times we can let excuses get in the way, time, or I have this many kids or whatever. And the bottom line is she's not making excuses and she's getting things done. And I can tell you right now that whether you're an experienced agent or whether you're new, you're going to hear some really great takeaways today. So with that, I'd love for Gina to come on and tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your work, your life, kind of why you got into real estate.
Well, with an introduction like that, no pressure.
I promise to keep it casual.
I know. I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to be really honest. This is one of those things that I like as I watch the morning club and you see there and you're like, one day I'm going to do that. Like it's been on my one day list. And so I feel so honored to be here today. I just really hope that I'm able to give value. Praying for good things. So a little bit about me. I am, as you say, I like to tell everybody that I'm a dual career agent. That's the word I use. When I talk to other agents and they're like, I'm a part-time agent. I'm like, oh, honey, no. There's nothing part-time about what we do. Like it's all in. Like, I put in just as many hours as a quote unquote full-time agent or only career agent. As I do in the dual career world. I just have to, like you said, prioritize and time block. Like it just takes in. I work literally just like everyone else, 7 days a week. Like my schedule is 7 days a week and I have really long hours and I'm sure just like everybody else does. So I've been with my other company, my W-2, for 14 years. It's Bye Bye Baby. I started off with them as an assistant manager. I promoted up through. I am currently a senior associate for the business development and innovation team on the corporate office side. It is a remote position, so I was able to apply and I actually got the promotion because it is remote. I'm in Dallas, corporate office is in New Jersey, so I do now it's a lot of Zoom calls. I started my career a little over 4 years ago, going on 5 years ago. And back then, I did a lot of traveling for Bye Bye Baby. I was a regional, at that time, I was district. I was a district customer service manager. So I had 16 stores that I directly reported to in 5 different states that I had to visit on a monthly basis. And so I did a lot of traveling. It was a lot of time away from the family and a lot of heart and soul. Like there's a lot that goes into building a new company at that time. And I was sitting on the plane one day, waiting for it to taxi off and kind of out of nowhere. And I know this might sound crazy to some people. And like when I explain it, I don't know how else to explain it other than like, I hate saying spirit because then it sounds like, I'm like, the spirits talk to me, but Holy Spirit.
Me too. Yeah, they talk to me too.
Yeah. So like spirit talked to me. Right. And I was sitting there and just kind of came over me. And it's like, you need to go into real estate. And I'm like, what? Right. And it just kind of like, it felt good, but at the same time, like your conscious mind is like, seriously, Gina, you're ADD. Right. And so then take off and I believe I landed in Kansas that day. Went to work, called my husband, went to, I landed fine, did my thing, did my visits, and then was checking in the hotel and checking in with my husband that night, how are the kids? And because by the way, I have four, and two at home, two outside, and I'm a grandma of Precious Luke, so I can't forget him.
Nobody has excuses. I just like to add that in there, people. Okay.
So I have a 25-year-old, a 23-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 15-year-old. And those two young ones, I tell you, they wear me out. And they're involved in all kinds of sports. So Kayla's been playing soccer since she was, I say 5, she says 4. So she plays competitive and she's on the varsity team. So we're constantly moving and doing all of that. It seems like forever now. Hannah does not theater. She does volleyball and every other thing she could possibly get her little hands on. And then my husband says I have the disease of save the world one nonprofit at a time. So I'm constantly volunteering for different things, which I have scaled back some on that, but I do still tend to get myself into a pickle.
Awesome. Yeah.
With that. But so back to that. So I called him and I was like, hey babe, how are you doing? And I said, yeah, the craziest thing happened today. I think I'm going to start looking into real estate. And he was like, well, why would you why? Where's this coming from? I said, I don't know. I was sitting on the plane and it just kind of came to me. And I feel like this is something I need to be looking into. And he's like, well, if the Lord's pushing you that way, then I wouldn't sit idle. Well, being a good Christian woman of 4 children, I sat idle for a really long time on that, but it didn't go anywhere. I just kept feeling like this thing to do this. And so I started, looking into podcasts and kind of doing, some, online stuff. And then I found this one school that did payment plans. And because honestly, I heard one person say one time, most people live paycheck to paycheck. One paycheck behind. And at times that's kind of how I felt our household was. So I didn't want to take out of our household to do something else that I just didn't, I was like, this money could be else. Yeah. And you just don't even know what to do. So I found the payment plan thing. I'm like, and I pitched it to Robert. He's like, you know what? If it's being laid on you, it's for a reason. So we did it. I did the classes. So I was studying on the plane. I printed the little books, so I could take them with me, the hotel room, lunch breaks. Every time I could get, I was trying to get the studying in between doing the 55 hours a week. Because that's what my work requirement is for Bye Bye Baby. And so got all that done. And again, that faithful steward, took forever to take that test because I was like, I'll just do it when I'm ready. Well, ready never came, to be honest.
Ready never comes for anything.
I was just like, I'll get there. And then Robert was like, do you ever really plan to do this? And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to schedule it. I'm going to schedule it and I will be ready. And that's I think my very first lesson of time. Work expands to the time allotted. And so I did it. I scheduled it and I did it 2 weeks out. The next test was 2 weeks next. And I hadn't touched those books and I did probably 6 months. It had been forever since I even looked at anything real estate. So during VBS, I was volunteering for VBS. I took my laptop and I had an off rotation. So during the off rotation, I sat in the classroom and I'm going through and trying to get everything. And then again, on lunch breaks, doing the little practice tests and stuff like that. And then I went test and I called Robert and I was bawling, that ugly, ugly crying bawling.
Sometimes we all need one.
Yeah, he was like, oh, babe, it's okay. It's okay. You can take it again. Remember, you just read that the failure rate's 63%. You'll be okay. It'll be okay. We can do it again. And I'm like, but I didn't fail. So why are you?
That's awesome. I'm excited.
Okay. All right. I love you. And you can hear him yelling, Mom passed, Mom passed.
Oh, yay.
And so I came home and then that became the next, I think all of us, you're like, oh, and then you realize there's all this money that has to be paid. You just don't
surprise.
Yeah. You're like, I need help. I'm sitting there and I'm going through and I'm adding it up and I'm like, oh man, now, now how do we make this? And that's a big chunk,
now
right?
What?
Yeah. And I'm like, how do I ask, and I don't want to say how I ask for it because it's our money, but still at the same time, everything is really
Yeah, you
defined.
have to weigh those decisions when
Yeah.
other people are depending on you, you know?
Yes. And so I was like, and I went to Robert and I'm like, remember, I overlooked a couple things. It's this. And so, and he was like,
Figure
well, we'll figure it out. Like it'll happen.
it
Like
out.
he's like, if God really wants you to do this, it's going to happen. Like that, I just have to have faith. And I'm like, well, not that I don't have faith, but I'm glad you have a little bit more than I do right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
And the crazy thing, Jenna, absolutely insane. He works, my husband's a field engineer. And at that time, he worked for Burkhoff Henderson Carter. And they do in his field, like in his thing, they always do like end of year bonuses. And so we always get like, which is such a blessing when he
Yeah.
started. Is that really it's the Christmas bonus, and so it always is taking care of Christmas, which I
Awesome. Yeah.
like, yeah. So you don't have to worry about Christmas. You just kind of it's just such a blessing. That year, Jenna, because I finished all my stuff in June. 2 weeks later, an announcement came that they were going to do a mid-year bonus instead of just
Wow.
a thing. So I
Wow.
get thinking about it now. So that
Amazing.
year, they got a July bonus. The July bonus was like $200 more than what we needed to pay for all the stuff to get me up and going.
That's amazing.
All the fees, the cards, just the little things and stuff. And we did it. He called me. He's like, "You're not going to believe this." I'm like, "Believe what, babe?" He's like, God did it. I told you he
That's
would."
amazing.
And
Yeah.
it's the only year that company has ever done that. They've
Wow.
never done it before, and they've never done it since. That was
Okay,
it.
so can I pause you because I have to make a comment because we have to let's acknowledge some things here, guys. Like first and foremost, there's so many good things and all the things you just said. Like you did not make excuses. You know, you went for it. You stepped out in faith. I always say faith over fear. You know, and I feel like as entrepreneurs, we have to do that like every day. Every day we have to live in that state of faith over fear. And so she took this step, she did it, and that is amazing. And I think that is the mark of an entrepreneur, really, is it doesn't matter if you're scared. You're always going to be scared. You're always going to have something to be afraid of, or you're always going to have an excuse. The point is you stepped out in faith. You didn't let those things get in your way, and you just did it anyway. And guess what? What is that saying? That God does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And
Yeah.
so you heard the call. And even if you're of a different faith, guys, like that's okay because we all have a unique purpose and God, universe, whatever you want to call it, has a plan for all of us. And so I just loved everything that you said. And I'd love to, so having said that, I feel there's like 5 things we could just talk about from just the beginning, but like that was a big takeaway. But tell us now, what are like 1, 2, or 3 things that you really feel, put it this way, have helped you build a strong foundation while being a dual agent or a dual career agent? I love that so much more than part-time too. So now I'm going to change my vocabulary. We all should change our vocabulary.
So I think the number one thing that really helped me, one is I can't fail. Like, it was like, I really truly felt like, okay, so now we've invested this. I've taken this extra, like all this, and I'm like, I have to, like, it was just that sense in me. And then the have to part, because I had to balance both. Like I could not, we needed my bye bye baby income. Like it's always been our solid, and I'm not gonna lie, I make good money, with them. So I had to time block. I had to sit down and say, so that meant I got up earlier than other people did, and people they're like, I cannot believe how early you get up. I'm like, well, I have to, because before Bye Bye Baby was real estate time. So it was like returning, sending out emails or follow-ups that I needed to do, with the knowing that I would follow up again at noon because that would be my lunch break. And so that was my next touch point, so I made sure to have those 3 touch points with my people and my, as I did stuff. So it's morning, afternoon, and then the evening. And most of my clients, like, they don't, like, my core group knows that I work for, I do both. But if I meet you at an open house and we went through, you would have never known, and they don't know.
Exactly. I mean,
that I work for both. If you look at my personal page, which most people aren't on it, it's but there's no mention of Bye Bye Baby anywhere.
Yeah.
You just don't see it. And it's because, not that I'm not appreciative of Bye Bye Baby, it's just I didn't want, because there is this stigma that if you can't do both, and it's just, you're just a part-time agent, and part-time agents aren't fully committed. Oh, heck no. There's no one that I will put myself up against anybody, that I will out hustle you, and I will find a way for my clients. And I'm super committed to that. And so I didn't want to come with that stick. So I just completely always separated it. And then also at the same time, I didn't want Bye Bye Baby thinking, oh, she's not doing her job anymore, she's just focused on this. And so I had to have those very clear dividers, I guess, and compartmentalize everything. So I get up earlier and then I check the hot sheets. I'm seeing what went on the market, what went reduced, what sold. That way, when people are asking me, I can tell you. And then at first I was trying to be everywhere mentally. And then I do a lot of podcasting, I
love them too.
All the time, right? I tell everybody I was raised on Tom Ferry and Brian Buffini, and then Rachel Adams. That's kind of where I truly was everything and anything I could get in the beginning. I was really trying to learn. And if I was and there's many people that helped me that don't even know they did, because I stalked you on Facebook or something. And I was trying to see what they were doing, because I believe success leaves clues, right? And I'm well, if they're doing it, what are they doing, and how can I make it mine? And that was a big thing. When I would talk to Robert, he was and I would say, oh, so-and-so's doing this, and I see there, and he's yes, but you are you. And people love you for you. Don't lose you. So when you look at these things, make sure that you bring it back and you make it Gina. And so I think that's where that loving on part comes from, because I love loving things. So scheduling, I really just, and then I had to give myself grace, because there was times when, the exercising thing might not have happened that day, or that, and it's okay. Or if I missed, you know what, I'm a human, and it's okay. And and I'll own it, apologize if I missed an email, and then move on.
Absolutely.
Because they understand it too, and just as a mom of 4 with a grandbaby, I mean, the grandbaby doesn't live here and 2 don't, but still, just as a mom and running your business, people understand that you are busy and it's okay. So that was the first thing, I think, was really just kind of, and getting things as systemized as possible. So KV Core, I love KV Core, right? And I use the squeeze page.
Everybody take notes.
Yes. So I use squeeze pages everywhere. You are not going somewhere without finding some sort of squeeze page for, these homes have just decreased in value. These are rentals that you can find, and these are this. And so I have squeeze pages, and they go in, and then I follow up with them on that. You get your messages, this lead's done this. And so then you can do your follow up also, checking your little count, it's telling you what to do. So you just kind of got to follow its lead and then add you to it. And so that. The other part, and this probably isn't as popular theory with everybody, but Facebook is where I started. Facebook is where I am. Facebook is where I've really gone in on, and others are well, you're not on this, and you're not on this, and you're on this. I'm I'm only one person. And even with the stuff automatically going, I can either be really good on Facebook, or I can be average everywhere. And I don't know if I need to be average everywhere right now. So for now, Facebook is where I am. The next thing I did start was my Google business page. So I do a lot of stuff on my Google business. And if you actually, in my area, if you type in realtor near me, I'm one of top 3. So I wrote between 1 to 3 each time after the paid ad people. So that, which means my page gets enough movement on it that it keeps me organically on the top. So
that's amazing.
That was Jason Pantana is another person that I feverishly listen to.
You told me that before. Yeah.
So I go through and I do a lot with that, but I try to make sure it's systemized as much as possible. So my KCM goes on there, and KV Core automatically goes on there. And then I add personal posts and my own little videos, just to kind of, I call it seasoning it with me. So your meat and potatoes are those, and then, but systemize anything you can. And that was something you taught me, because I was trying to do everything myself, and you were Gina, you need to start systemizing. So, and that really has helped free up me to do things that I really need to do.
So can I point out a couple things again that are so critical here, because I feel like the nuggets that are in there need to be like put. I just love it. Okay, so one thing, guys, have you ever heard her say that she was going to try real estate? No, she's going to do real estate. Like, there's such a big difference between trying something and desiring something. And then the next level is drive. Like, there's a difference. There's the difference between like a winner and somebody who's going to be benched during the game is somebody who is, if you just have the desire, that's great, but that is going to fade. Drive keeps you going. And I think that's one thing that it took us talking today more for me to put my finger on, that is the difference. You're driven. Like, there's also this story that they say about this army that went to war, and basically they sailed up to this island, right? There's no escaping, and they were all in their boats. We've all heard this. This is like a big saying in the business world. And rather than have a way to escape, they burned all their ships once they arrived at this island to make war. And I feel like you did not give yourself the option to fail. You're like, I've invested into this, I have sacrificed, and you basically went all in. You didn't give yourself an escape route. And I love that. I think we need to take note of that. And last but not least, have you heard over and over and over again, like, learning, growing, you have to be willing to learn. If you think that you're the biggest, baddest, most amazing thing on the planet, I hate to break it to you, but you're not. The people who become the biggest, baddest people on the planet, the people who know that there's something left to learn. And she learns, and then guess what though? Implements. Learning's great. Implementation is the difference between somebody who's going to get to where they want to go. She learns, she implements, she immersed herself in real estate. And I think that is a golden takeaway. So keep going. Now we had talked about, and I'm sorry, I'm just throwing you back into the deep end. But we were talking about how you turned it into action in your business and systems.
Right. And then, so, I mean, I think it's just time blocking, getting things in system. And then again, that growth mindset, and then, and giving yourself grace. I think those are the things that really kind of still to this day help. When I started out, I told myself I was going to be the queen of open houses. So I was going to, because I didn't know, like, I didn't like advertising to like my sphere, which was Bye Bye Baby. I didn't really feel comfortable doing. So I was like, and I actually heard a podcast, and this lady called herself the queen of open houses. And I was like, well, I'm the next queen of open houses. You might be
taking over,
but I'm coming here in Texas. And so I, at that time, I was like, okay, all right, so how do I make open houses successful? So then again, podcast world, right? So I'm in YouTube. So I'm going through, and I came up with like a system of what I thought would work. And I'm like, okay, this is my formula for open houses. I ordered I changed that in the beginning, and Robert and I talk about this still. Like in the beginning, I had like 5 of those generic little like open house directional signs, and I had a Cricut machine, and I was like, mine are going to be better. Like, I want people to look at mine and be like, I want her to be my agent. So I would get a Cricut machine, and I would Cricut the address onto the signs, because I really hated the whole handwritten thing. And yes, it was more time, but it was just that level of professionalism that I wanted to show, right? And then I could take it off and redo it. Yeah. And so I would do the little signs. And then once I got my first transaction, which was from an open house, I was like, yes. So then I bought I was like, okay, I need to invest all in on open houses. This is where this is where I said I was going to make my mark. So then I bought 25 of the big 18 by 24 with a picture. All the advertisement, open house signs. And so now, if you can't find your way to my open house, I don't know if I want to work with you. I know that sounds mean, but I mean, what I loved about that was because the people that are like if they're out just like looky-looing, right, which are kind of more top of the funnel for people, but still that means that they don't have an agent. And that's the one I really wanted. People that were really probably looking at it on their phone, probably were already working with an agent. And I did notice that. So I was
Yes.
like, I need to make sure. And that's why I really wanted to go in on the more of the open house signs. And I did. I would get more people at the open house. In the beginning, I want to say it was like 70, and I should know this better, but I want to say it was like 79% of my attendees were unrepresented. And so my statistics became
Awesome.
that 1 out of every 2 open houses, I got a new client. So
Okay, guys, are you taking notes?
So
People have teams. Are you taking notes? Like your team members should be doing open houses, guys. It's gold. Okay.
And so I would go, and it wasn't just putting up the signs though. So when people like post and are like, does anyone want to hold an open house tomorrow? And I've had people ask me, hey Gina, because I would hound you for an open house. I would call other brokers. Hey, can you have an open house that I can have? If you were in the neighborhood I wanted, I was relentless. And I would have other brokers like, I don't, but do you want to come work for us? I'm like, no, I just get a house, I want a house in that neighborhood because I'm really working on that neighborhood right now. But so it's scheduling the open house, it's doing the flyers, it's door knocking, like on a week, especially back then. I was doing 2 open houses a week. I had them scheduled on Saturday, one more morning, one in the later afternoon with a 1-hour block a gap in between in the same city. So it was easier for me to move around, get the signs moved. And then I was door knocking 200 doors a week, inviting neighbors. So
that is freaking awesome. Like, I'm sorry. That is dedication. If you want to know what a winner looks like, you are on a call with one today. Like, Gina, you're amazing. Seriously. You are more amazing than you even know.
But it's because I had from the beginning, and I still do. I'm like, I'm going to have a team, right? And we've talked about this. Kind of where, and I'm getting ready, like I said, this year, God willing, I'm burning my bye-bye baby boat, and I'm really trying to get everything I've been really trying to get everything lined up so I can do that and just want to be all, just that's it, that leap of faith. But again, we had to be financially there, the months of savings, and because we didn't have that. So there's just been a lot of things we had to get in place for that. So burn that boat this year and next year too, but I want to make sure I have that foundation to give my people. So
what a firm foundation though. I mean, you have laid such a firm foundation. We can't get off this call without you telling them about your pop buys.
Oh, yes. I love my pop buys. So I do. Amazing. I have a calendar over there that you can't see, but I plan out my year of my pop buys. So I do different things each month. And it's so it's everybody in my past clients or someone who I'm working with currently. And sometimes those people I'm trying to I'll send them stuff too. But it'll be little stuff, and I mean, it's nothing super expensive. Each one will cost me a few bucks at the very most. I'm super cheap, guys. I really am. But I'll buy stuff in bulk, from the dollar store, and put little things together for different holidays, and I'll send it to them. And people love it. Robert at first made fun of me. He was like, "What are you seriously doing? Do you really think people want this stuff?" And then people would post. She's always bringing me stuff, and always for the kids or this. And I work with a lot of mamas, so in their mind, I think they think I'm bringing it for their kids, but it's just kind of, again, trying to stay top of mind. So last year, 67% of my transactions truly came from a referral. So someone I worked with either from the open houses before or someone that referred me over. So, and even my rental people have referred me, people who, because they know people who own homes, people who have bought and sold and stuff. So last year, the majority of my transactions came from a referral from someone I closed the previous years. So again, those pop buys really work. Just kind of top of mind.
Also, let's think about this for a second. We're business owners, right? She knows her numbers. Do you know your numbers? Because, and I know for some of you guys, maybe your team leads or, but we have to know our numbers. She didn't say, oh, I think maybe, 67%. She knows her numbers, and 79% from open houses. Your numbers tell you something.
Yes.
There's gold in that. There's gold in the data. And so pay attention to your numbers. Okay. So
I'm
Okay, go
sorry.
ahead, go ahead.
I was saying, and
No,
I
no.
learned that really from just from by, running, helping run.
Yes.
Like you have to know what's working and what's not, because you don't want to
Mhm.
spend your time, especially your resources. Your biggest resource you have is your time. And especially in the beginning,
Yes.
when you don't have money, it's sweat equity. You're going to spend
Mhm.
one of two, money equity or your sweat equity. And I sure wasn't
Yes.
sweating on something that didn't, wasn't giving me any kind of benefit. So I
Heck
don't.
yes. Okay, so before we wrap up, so you have about 5 minutes. I want to hear, like, because we've talked about this before, but there has been so much greatness in this, and I'm actually going to go back and rewatch this and write down all of the things, because I feel like I missed like 2 or 3 things I wanted to point out. But it's just like, let's just roll with it. So I'm going to go back and write it all down, and then we're going to talk about it again. So, real estate's hard. You have
Yes.
4 kids, you're a grandmother, like you have much more than full-time job with a lot of responsibility. Real estate can be discouraging. The sales cycle is long. Like, how, first and foremost, I already see how you talk to yourself. You talk positively to yourself and you believe in yourself. That's step one. But beyond that, how do you deal with the discouraging times, and like, how do you keep going?
It's knowing the numbers. And my husband asks me that all the time. So like and you go through, and again, I don't just put up a sign. I put a lot of work into my open houses, and my husband sees this, right? And there are those days when like nobody comes and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm working at the open house. So I'm still doing stuff, but it's still
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, I don't know how you do this. Like, I don't know how you're like, how do you just keep on? He asked me this the other day. I said, it's numbers, babe. I know I have to have, and right now, currently within the last 8 months, my open house ratio is 1 new client to 3 open houses, because it has extended out for some reason. So that does mean that every 3, I will get 1 new client. If I'm like, I need to get someone in the pipeline, well, I guess I need to be doing some more open houses, because
Gotcha.
so I know I have to, you're going to have, it's numbers. This whole thing is a numbers game in at the very top of it, led by your heart. Like, I think if you're trying to help your people genuinely and help them and be there for them, then you can never lose. But to kind of help keep me going, it's I know we're going to have zeros, and it's okay, because you know what? That's 1 to the 3. And so there's the next one. And I think that's what kind of helps keep me going. I have to, like, and otherwise you kind of do feel like if you don't know your numbers, then you do feel like you're kind of just lost and wandering. You don't have that map to know, okay, this, boom, I should have this. And if I get to 3 and I didn't, then I kind of need to sit back and kind of self-reflect. Did I really give it my all? What's going on in the market? Is there something that I might be missing? Do I need to try to do something, just kind of what adjustments need to be made at that time, is what I'll do. But I think that's because it is going to happen. And it is kind of hard sometimes. So I had just yesterday, I got a phone call from another agent. It was a lease lead that I got this is a whole almost different can of worms, but she calls me, she asked me, do I know the people? I'm like, no. I said, it's like an online lead. I said, yeah. And so we're denying their application. I spent 2 weekends showing them homes, and I'm like, and I was like, okay. She's like, well, they didn't meet the credit, but beyond that, their application was almost all fraudulent. And I was like, oh, a lot of other things kind of went at the same time, but at the same time, you're like, seriously? Like, I spent 2 weekends showing them homes.
Yeah.
Kind of, and I was thinking, and my husband always says he never gets a commission check till it happens, but I sometimes do. I'm like, that can go to pay for.
It's hard not to. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll start kind of like, this will pay for Kayla's tires, because we need tires. Like, do this. Like, I start kind of moving money around sometimes in my head.
It's hard not to.
So I was just kind of like, oh man, and then you're like, you know what? It's a life lesson. And that's kind of how I'm like, okay, it didn't work out. And but you know what? I showed, I was like, I'm showing homes today. I gave myself relevance on my sphere. I saw homes. Like, I just try to figure out, like, there's always a nugget that you get out of anything anyways.
Yes.
And I know I need to figure out a better way to stay safe. Beyond, my husband's like, well, this is why you have your concealed handgun. And I'm like,
exactly.
You need it. That's the point. I'm like, I need to figure out.
I hope you never need it. Yeah.
So I think that's that. Know your numbers and just give yourself grace. Like, and just know and know that there's a goal. Whatever your goal is, you got to keep working for it. And I keep thinking, I have my goals I set each year of what I want to accomplish and do. And you're going to just keep picking yourself up and moving forward. That's what makes you, at the end of the day, that's who wins the race. The person that keeps getting up, getting to the end.
I love it. Well, guys, I don't know about you, but I feel like that was very inspiring. And I feel like we all can take away so many great things from that. And the last thing that I will say is remember how you talk to yourself. There's a few themes here. She talks to herself positively. She believes that she can. And there's sometimes, guys, if you don't believe that you can yet, that's why you need to be on the morning show with us. We need to be here. Like if you don't know that you can yet, borrow some of ours. We know that you can, because we're just normal people. People who are top producers were just at the bottom like everybody else when they first started. And so talk to yourself positively. If you're just not there yet, come to the morning show, immerse yourself in podcasts, find somebody that you enjoy learning with and from, link arms with other people, find a community, get involved. Like you cannot walk this road alone.
No.
And I'm really so glad that you joined us today. And everybody, I hope you go back and watch it and have a pen and paper and start putting some stuff to implement inside of your own businesses. So thank you so much for coming.
Welcome. Thank you so much. And real quick, on the positivity thing, there is a podcast, and I actually it's called Positive Affirmations. And I'll be sitting down the road. I am a market agent. I
love it.
Transactions that I can.
I love it. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me here.
It was an honor.
Thank you.
I love your information. I love your energy. You're going to do such amazing things. And I think you built such a firm foundation. I'm excited to see where you go. And everybody who's on the call, I'm excited to see what you do with this amazing information. Comment, like, all the good things. And if you want to be on the show, or you know someone who wants to be on the show, give me a shout at Gina Harris at
Thank you,
everybody.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.